The text message came through during my lunch break at the office. My brother Marcus had a talent for terrible timing. You must pay $8,500 for the venue. Family responsibility. I stared at my phone, reading the message 3 times to make sure I understood correctly. Marcus wanted me to pay for his wedding venue. Not contribute, pay the entire amount. Before I could respond, my mother's text arrived. Don't ruin his special day. He's your only brother. I typed back a single word, no. My phone immediately started ringing. I let it go to voicemail. Then it rang again. And again. The whole situation would have been almost funny if it wasn't so predictable. Marcus had always been the golden child. The successful one. The one who made our parents proud with his marketing career, his beautiful fiancée, and his perfect life that looked so good on social media. Meanwhile, I was just Maya. Quiet Maya. Maya who worked too much. Maya who never shared details about her job. Maya who showed up to family dinners in simple clothes and drove a 7-year-old sedan that still ran perfectly fine. At those dinners, Marcus would talk about his latest marketing campaigns and client acquisitions. Dad would discuss his golf handicap and retirement portfolio. Mom would share updates about her book club and garden projects. When conversation turned to me, it was always brief. How's work, Maya? Fine. Still at the same place? Yes. That's nice, dear. And then they'd move on to more interesting topics. I'd learned years ago that nobody really wanted details. They wanted confirmation that I was fine so they could return to discussing things that mattered to them. That evening, I sat in my apartment and listened to the voicemails. Maya, this is ridiculous. Marcus sounded frustrated. It's just $8,500. You don't have kids, you don't have a mortgage. What are you even spending money on? Mom's message was more emotional. Sweetheart, please reconsider. This is Marcus's wedding. He's worked so hard to get to this point in his life. Jennifer is from a very prominent family. We need everything to be perfect. Dad's voicemail was brief. Your mother is very upset. Call your brother back. I deleted all 3 messages and ordered Thai food. The texts continued over the next few days. Marcus sent me screenshots of the venue contract, highlighting the deposit deadline. Mom sent me photos of Marcus and Jennifer looking happy, as if that was supposed to change my mind. Even my Aunt Diane weighed in, texting me about family values and supporting each other. Nobody asked why I said no. Nobody asked if I could afford it. They just assumed I was being difficult. The truth was, I could afford it. I could afford to pay for the entire wedding if I wanted to. But that wasn't the point. 3 weeks before the wedding, Marcus showed up at my apartment unannounced. We need to talk, he said, pushing past me into the living room. Hello to you too, I replied, closing the door. Jennifer's parents are contributing $20,000, he said, pacing. My savings are covering the catering and photography. Mom and Dad are paying for the flowers and the rehearsal dinner. All we need is the venue cost covered, and you're the only one who hasn't stepped up. I'm not paying for your venue, Marcus. Why not? His face was reddening. Give me one good reason. Because you demanded it instead of asking. Because you've never once asked about my life or my job. Because you assume I have nothing better to do with my money than fund your wedding. That's petty. Maybe. But it's my decision. He stared at me for a long moment. Jennifer's going to be so disappointed. She had her heart set on Riverside Manor. I said nothing. You know what? Marcus headed for the door. Fine. Be selfish. But don't expect to be invited to family events anymore. You're making your choice clear. After he left, I poured myself a glass of wine and looked out at the city lights. Riverside Manor. Of course, that's where they wanted to get married. It was the most prestigious venue in the area, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the river, professionally maintained gardens, and a reputation for hosting society weddings. I knew it well. I'd purchased the property 4 years ago. My real estate investment company owned 12 commercial properties across the state. Riverside Manor was my favorite, the crown jewel of my portfolio. I'd bought it when it was struggling, renovated it carefully, hired an excellent events team, and watched it become one of the most sought-after venues in the region. Marcus had no idea. None of my family did. They thought I worked in office administration because I'd never corrected them. They'd never asked for details, so I'd never volunteered them. The wedding was scheduled for a Saturday in June. Prime season, premium pricing. The $8,500 Marcus wanted me to pay was just the deposit. The full venue cost was close to $30,000. I wondered if he knew that. 2 weeks before the wedding, my venue manager, Sarah, called me. Maya, we have a situation with the Morrison wedding. What kind of situation? The bride just called, very upset. She wanted to negotiate reducing some of the services to lower the final cost. When I explained our contracts are fixed, she got confrontational. She said her future sister-in-law was being unreasonable about helping with costs. I closed my eyes. What did you tell her? I told her our prices are non-negotiable and that all family financial arrangements are between family members. But she asked to speak with the owner. She said she wanted to go over my head because I was being inflexible. What did you say? I told her I'd have the owner call her back. That's why I'm calling you. I thought about it. Jennifer had always been pleasant enough at family gatherings, if a bit obsessed with appearances and social status. But demanding to speak with the owner because she didn't like the answer she got from the manager was entitled behavior. Give me her number, I said. I'll handle it. That evening, I sat in my home office and pulled up Jennifer's contact information from the venue files. I stared at her number for a moment before dialing from my personal phone. This conversation would change everything and I needed to be ready for the fallout. Hello. Jennifer, this is Maya. My venue manager said you wanted to speak with the owner about your wedding. There was a pause. I could hear background noise, maybe traffic or a television. Maya? I don't understand. Sarah Martinez, my venue manager, said you called this afternoon asking to negotiate the pricing for your wedding at Riverside Manor. She told you to contact the owner directly, so I'm calling you back. Another pause, longer this time. You're calling me back? Why would you wait? Are you saying you work there? I own it. The silence on the other end of the line stretched out. I could almost hear her processing the information, her mind racing through all the implications. You own Riverside Manor, she said slowly. Yes. I purchased it 4 years ago. It's part of my commercial property portfolio. Your property portfolio. Her voice sounded strange. Marcus said you work in administration. I do. I administrate my properties. And you've just been, what, sitting there listening to him demand you pay for the venue you own? Yes. Why didn't you say anything? Nobody asked. And I was curious to see how far it would go. Jennifer was quiet for another moment. Then she said, he's been so stressed about the money. His parents keep saying family should help family. He assumed you were just being stubborn. I am being stubborn. But not about money. Then what? About being treated like I matter. About being asked instead of told. About being included in family conversations instead of just being the one everyone expects to write checks. I heard her take a breath. I need to talk to Marcus. That's up to you. But Jennifer, the venue contract stands as written. The full payment is due 1 week before the wedding. If you can't meet that, I'll refund your deposit and you'll need to find another location. Even though you're family? Especially because I'm family. I don't mix business with personal relationships. It never ends well. But you could just cover it as a wedding gift. I could, but I won't. Because this isn't about the money. It's about respect. She hung up without saying goodbye. The next morning my phone exploded. Marcus called 6 times before I answered. You own the venue? Are you kidding me right now? I'm not kidding. This whole time, you've been letting us stress about paying for a venue you own and you said nothing? You never asked what I do for a living, Marcus. You just assumed. As you let us assume. You drive an old car and wear normal clothes and never talk about work. I like my car. I don't need flashy clothes. And nobody in this family has ever asked about my work. Not once in 4 years. That's not the point. That's exactly the point. You see me as boring Maya with her boring office job. It never occurred to you that I might have my own success. And when you needed money, you didn't ask, you demanded. Family helps family. Then where was the family when I was building my business? Where was the family when I was working 80-hour weeks and eating ramen to save for my first property down payment? You were all too busy with your own lives to notice. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, so what now? Are you going to cancel our wedding out of spite? No. Your contract stands. Pay the balance by the deadline and you'll have your wedding at Riverside Manor. Don't pay it and you'll need to find somewhere else. Business is business. You're unbelievable. And you're entitled. Goodbye, Marcus. Mom called an hour later, crying. How could you keep this from us? We're your family. You never asked, Mom. We shouldn't have to ask. You should share these things. Like you share things with me? When was the last time you called just to talk? When was the last family dinner where anyone asked about my life instead of talking about Marcus's promotions or Dad's golf game? She didn't have an answer. Dad's call was more measured. Your mother tells me you own the wedding venue. I do. That's quite an accomplishment. How many properties do you have? 12 commercial properties. 4 residential complexes. Total portfolio value around $40 million. He was silent for a long moment. $40 million. Give or take. And we've been treating you like you can't manage your own finances. Yes. I see. He cleared his throat. About the wedding, are you really going to make Marcus pay the full amount? Yes. Even though you're family? Dad, if I give Marcus this venue for free, I'll be setting a precedent. Every family member with an event will expect the same treatment. I'll never be seen as anything other than the family bank account. And besides, Marcus can afford it. He just doesn't want to pay because he thought he could guilt me into covering it. When did you become so hard? When I realized being soft meant being invisible. The week before the wedding, Sarah called again. Maya, the Morrison wedding payment just came through. Full amount on time. Good. There was a note with it. Want me to read it? Sure. It says, payment in full for services rendered. No family discount expected or desired. Professional courtesy appreciated. Marcus Morrison. I smiled. He's learning. Are you going to the wedding? I haven't decided yet. In the end I went. I wore a simple navy dress and sat in the back row. The ceremony was beautiful. Riverside Manor looked stunning as it always did. The gardens were perfect, the lighting was romantic, and Jennifer looked genuinely happy. During the reception, Marcus found me at my table. You came, he said. It's a nice wedding. The venue is incredible. Your staff did an amazing job. They're well trained. He sat down in the empty chair next to me. Jennifer told me what you said. About respect. And you were right. I've been a terrible brother. I never asked about your life because I was too focused on mine. I assumed you were struggling because you didn't brag about success. I demanded instead of asking because I thought I was entitled to your help. Yes. I'm sorry. I looked at him carefully. He seemed sincere. Apology noted. Is there anything I can do to fix this? You can start by being curious about my life. You can ask questions. You can stop assuming you know everything about me. You can treat me like an equal instead of a resource. He nodded slowly. I can do that. Then we'll see. The DJ announced the first dance. Marcus stood up, then hesitated. For what it's worth, this venue really is perfect. I'm glad we had our wedding here, even if I had to pay for it. It builds character, I said. He laughed, actually laughed, and went to join his bride. I stayed for another hour, then slipped out quietly. As I drove home in my 7-year-old sedan, I thought about family and expectations and the price of being underestimated. The next morning, I got a text from Marcus. Just 2 words, thank you. I didn't respond right away. Instead, I made coffee and sat by my window, watching the sun rise over the city I'd quietly conquered while everyone was looking the other way. Sometimes the best revenge isn't dramatic. Sometimes it's just living well and letting people discover your success on their own timeline. Eventually, I texted back, you're welcome. Enjoy the honeymoon. 3 months later, Marcus called me on a Tuesday evening. Hey Maya, are you free for dinner this weekend? Jennifer and I want to hear about your business. For real this time. I smiled. I'm free Saturday. Great. And Maya? I'm asking, not demanding. I noticed. See you Saturday. Progress, I thought. Slow but progress. That night, I sat down with my property manager to review expansion opportunities. There was a historic hotel downtown that was about to go on the market. The asking price was steep, but the location was prime. I'd built an empire in silence. Now I was just deciding whether to let my family see it, one careful conversation at a time. Some revelations happen in explosive moments. Others unfold slowly with patience and boundaries and the quiet satisfaction of being exactly who you are regardless of who's paying attention. I chose the latter. And honestly, it felt better than any dramatic confrontation ever could.